Ryan, in his first 10 seasons in the league, won 60% of his games and made the playoffs 6 times, including 1 Super Bowl appearance. But the last 4 seasons haven't produced a ton of winning. Might not be all on Ryan, who slightly improved on his pass yards per game and touchdown to interception ratio over those last few years. But obviously, overall, did not go well in Atlanta recently. So, Dianna, you were part of the crew that broke the story for us yesterday. Take us through how this deal got done.
Yeah, it took a lot of muscle to break that story.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It goes back to last Sunday when the Atlanta Falcons called Matt Ryan and said, we are in on Deshaun Watson. We're to go after him. We appreciate what you've done for us, but this is the move for us for the future. And Matt Ryan was in for it. He understood what Atlanta needed to do, and he understood that that probably meant he was going to get traded, and Indy was one of those teams that he wanted to go to. So fast forward Wednesday, the Falcons go meet with Deshaun. The next day, Deshaun decides he's going to the Cleveland Browns. Atlanta's out in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So now what? Matt Ryan stays, right? No. Well, they both sides decided this is probably not going to work moving forward now. So Indy, this past Sunday, called Atlanta, and the talk started to really heat up overnight. Monday, it all came together, and there was some thought, and this was really interesting, right up to the final hour, when Indy and Atlanta agreed to the terms of this, there was a thought that perhaps Matt Ryan would get cold feet in this, and he would decide, you know what, I don't want to get traded. I want to finish my career in Atlanta. But in the end, he decided that Indy has the best roster for him to win.
Yeah, and it should be a lot better than what he's been dealing with in Atlanta. Atlanta's going to have to deal with a $40+ million dead cap hit, but they're in the rebuild. The Colts have Matt Ryan, and this is another guy who's going from the NFC to the AFC. Yeah. Bart, the AFC is stacked. Where do you put the Colts?
I put them right there in the mix, right? Because if we want to give credit to the Tennessee Titans last year and say that they were a legitimate threat, which they were before King Henry got hurt, we have to say that, the Colts offer the same similar type of roster. With the emergence of Taylor, you think about Pittman, I think they have to go out there. Let's see if he can court a guy like Julio Jones, because they need somebody opposite of Pittman that can be a viable threat. But you talk about a great offensive line. You talk about the ability to shrink the game and limit the possessions of a game. You talk about being able to control the clock. I think they have everything. I think they move ahead to Tennessee Titans, because at this point, if you ask me to pick between Ryan Tannehill and you ask me to pick between Matty Ice, I'm going to go with Matty Ice, whose completion percentage has really improved and still is an elite player. He's only 37 years old. We talk about Aaron Rodgers at 37 years old like he's, Benjamin Button, and I think we talk about, Matt Ryan like he's like the old man in the building. He's not.
He's not. So a couple of years ago, it's Phillip Rivers. Last year, they go with Carson Wentz. Colts are doing this every offseason. Is Ryan what they need?
He's more of what they need than what they had. We can put it that way. Here's what I would say. I think that Bart has assessed kind of what their plan is for winning. And I think you can easily make the argument that if you were to look at the roster in comparison to the Titans, who were the 1 seed last year, you actually would probably like it better. When the composite of both sides of the ball, the offensive line, the run game, like you maybe favor Derrick Henry. At the same time, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best backs in the league. So you want a quarterback that can play kind of in that environment of shrinking the game, not, making the critical error. And I think when you look at Matt Ryan, having the experience, playing in big games, and not having a history of kind of stubbing your toe in the most critical moment, that fits the bill much more than what they had. In many senses, it fits the bill better than a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that this is probably more akin to what they had in Phillip Rivers, which they were very happy with. And so I think that's how this Matt Ryan thing works out.
Yeah, they would have kept Rivers last year, but he decided to retire on them. Bart was talking about should they sign a free agent wide receiver. There's a free agent wide receiver that actually was tweeting about liking this trade last night. Odell Beckham Jr., this was overnight, random thought, but he really thinks that the Matt Ryan of the Colts is going to make a difference. So I don't know whether that's a...
It's a thirst trap right there.
Right?
Thirst trap.
You might as well just put a picture of him doing a workout. That's a wink, wink, Chris Ballard. Come get me, and you guys bring up Phillip Rivers. We know that they gave him a call last year when Carson Wentz was going through some of that. And I think what Tim brings up in terms of the future of the Colts here, Matt Ryan being a better fit, I do think you need to also state that Carson Wentz as a player and the performance he had last year wasn't so bad. We sometimes come up here
lost to
and we
Jacksonville.
just crush him. He didn't lose. The whole team
It
lost
goes
to
on the quarterback's
Jacksonville.
permanent record, 10
But
on
in
the
turn,
contract.
just from talking to Indy over the last 24 hours, talking to people on the staff, players, just getting a thought, it always goes back to Matt Ryan's leadership.
Yeah.
Tim had mentioned it earlier, too. What he can do in that locker room seems to be why they believe that this was a great move. And this is an all-win now mentality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they still have $17 million, so that's why OBJ is saying, hey, what's up? I'm available.
They got tons of
but
money.
you think about Julio Jones and potentially Jarvis Landry as well, gives you a healthy
Why
body.
do you keep saying
But
Julio Jones? Julio Jones can't even practice.
Listen,
Well, we'll
He's
see.
hurt.
For Matt
Call
Ryan,
Tennessee.
what I'm saying, Matt Ryan is a guy. He may want his guy. I feel real bad for Riverboat Ryan. Like, if he knew all these quarterbacks were available, you think he would win with Carson
and
Wentz?
they
I do.
jumped
He's like he wants to
See,
redo.
I do. You
Well,
think
listen, you got to be careful because you sit around and wait too long.
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
get anybody.
Yeah.
So
Well, that may be what Washington was thinking, but that's for another time.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.